offering 3 recommendations to be implemented following the inquiry into the UK's biggest maternity
Oh, that's fine.
It's about 201 babies.
Hi guys, and welcome to the Glampitect webinar tonight on the do's and don'ts of setting up a glamping business. I'm Calum MacLeod. I founded Glampitect, and stepping back a little bit from the day-to-day, but I want to give my knowledge on running glamping sites, setting them up and things like that, from my own experience of running Glampitect as well as my own sites, which I'll speak about soon. So thank you all for coming along. There's probably going to be quite a lot of people joining over the next few minutes, but we'll just start just now. Something that I'm going to do. So something I'm going to do is send a link in the chat. I'll speak about that in a minute, but if you get a chance, maybe guys that are on the phone, don't press it, but anybody else, if you could click that and just fill in, there's just a couple of questions there, so that I can tailor this session to suit you guys. So if I know that a load of you have land and you want to start but nothing else, then I'll tailor it to that. Whereas if a lot of you are in planning or done feasibility, I'll tailor it a bit more to that. Usually I would come round you all, but we are anticipating probably over 100 people tonight. So that would take more than the full amount of time to do just that. So with that said, yeah, please, if you have any questions at any point, I would usually say shout out, but I don't think that would be sensible. Dan, could you please double check the link? I've just seen that somebody said that the link's not working. It's the first one, stage. If you can take a look at that. Yeah, please don't shout out if you can type in. I can't handle the shouting out, definitely. I could respond, but I feel like we might get pulled away from the point if too many people ask things. So please type in questions as we go. Some of the team are here and will be looking at the questions. And whenever I need a little break from talking, I'll pass over to one of the guys to answer a few questions that are in the chat. And anything that we don't get to answer, we will answer afterwards. The same with link as well. There's an option to put in questions in there. So with that said, I'm going to pass over to a couple of teams just for them to say hello. You've probably spoken to these guys at various points over the last little while, our client relations team. So we've got Jack, Dan and Calum here. Jack, over to you first, then Calum and Dan, you can all say hi.
Hi there guys, yeah, I'm Jack. I'm one of the senior consultants at Glampitect. Yeah, I'll be keeping my eye on the chat for any questions that you've got throughout tonight's session. And yeah, if anybody has anything that they want to run by, just shout out and yeah, we can do my best to answer. Over to Dan.
Hi, yes, my name is Dan, also one of the senior consultants. I'm happy to see so many familiar faces here. I'm sure if you have any questions, fire them across to us, and I look forward to catching up with most of you after this session. And Calum.
Thank you. Hi guys, yeah, so I'm Calum, in the client relations team. It's nice to put some faces to names tonight, and also great to see everyone here. So I look forward to chatting to more of you soon.
Thank you, guys. So Dan's going to work away on the link as well to see if he can get it to work, but it does seem to be working for some people and some not. This isn't unessential, guys. It's only just going to kind of help me tailor things, so don't stress if it's not working. We're not going to give you in trouble or anything like that. With that said, maybe Dan, could you pull the results in a few minutes and just send them to me on Teams, so I've got them in front of me, so I can tailor it as needs be.
Sure. Paul's just saying if you copy it in the browser, it works.
Okay, cool. So yeah, if you copy and paste it into the browser, that's weak. If you copy and paste it into the browser, it works, potentially. So yeah, give that a go, guys, if you can. With that said, I'm going to get into the presentation. This is a little bit of a Frankenstein presentation, I'll be honest. I only just decided I was going to do this webinar, I think, like last Thursday or something, so it was kind of last minute. So we have pulled together something that is good, I think, I hope. It originated from some live in-person presentations that I did at shows last year, which is why it says Academy here. But I've pulled some of the start, and then all of the do's and don'ts, we put them together from, well, the whole team's got involved actually. So in Glampitect, we've got 17 guys in the team that all deal with glamping every day. We've got the client relations guys that you've all just been introduced to there. Feasibility study team, there's 3 guys in there that are just constantly reviewing policy, writing reports about glamping sites. And the planning team, the designers, so there's 5.5 guys in the design team, one's part-time. And so yeah, everybody has had their input on the do's and don'ts that you guys are going to see soon. So yeah, this is kind of coming from us dealing with glamping all day, every day. So who am I? First of all, why am I interesting? And why can I help you guys understand what's good and what's bad in glamping? So I've got a few businesses in the glamping industry. The first of which was North Coast 500 Pods. I then set up Glampitect, Glampitect Global, and Glamping is another one which is about to launch over the next probably 6 weeks. I'll chat a little bit about them soon. With my first site, my first North Coast 500 Pod site, I won the award for the best glamping site in Scotland. I think 4 months after opening, so that was super exciting at the time. This is definitely outdated because it says worked on over 400 projects. It's now over 600. So yeah, worked on over 600 projects for glamping throughout the world, predominantly in the UK. Probably 250 of them are in Scotland, 250 are in England, and 100 elsewhere. So yeah, vast majority within the UK. Currently, I own 2 glamping sites with 3 in various stages of design as well. One of them is a pretty big one, a 50-unit site that I'm really looking forward to being able to speak a little bit more about. It's going to be a really exciting one. So, who are North Coast 500 Pods? This wasn't working earlier. Dan, could you take a look at the Achmelvik map report for Brora? Sorry, for Achmelvik, and see if it's working for you. The link wasn't working for me earlier on. And just shout out. So I'll try and give you guys a walk around, but if not, so be it, and can send out a link after. So yeah, this is me and Ali, my business partner, at the opening of North Coast 500 Pods. It was an idea that we had, and we thought glamping's cool. This is an up and coming thing. Why don't we put a glamping site on this land that my mum and dad have in the north of Scotland? So I got planning approval for it. I did the planning application myself, and then got some investment with Ali. And then from there, we opened our second site. So North Coast 500 Pods, probably a lot of you know the North Coast 500, or have at least heard of it. Really popular route around the north of Scotland. And yeah, it's quickly become super popular. We've got a big following on Facebook, big following on Instagram, and we are, I think, over 80% occupancy in March. So the month just passed, and April coming up, we're close to 100. So really high numbers, even in these typically low periods, partly to do with their own marketing, and partly just to do with the popularity of glamping. Next to Glampitect. So Glampitect are the company that I am here in the capacity of tonight. Predominantly, we're glamping design setup consultancy, and the idea was born in the glamping show. So when I was setting up my own North Coast 500 Pods first site, I was walking around the glamping show. I saw all the people looking at manufacturers, and that was pretty much all that was at the glamping show. And I thought, all of these people need the help, need help around what I've just done for myself, planning applications, understanding how to set up a site, understanding how to market a site, and all those things. So I thought, I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to try and help these people set up glamping businesses. And I did think it was going to do well. I did. But I didn't think that we would grow as quickly and be able to help as many people as we have over the last 3 years. So Glampitect launched 3 years ago, give or take. And yeah, as I say, in that time we've worked on over 600 glamping projects, which is super exciting. Predominantly, the first thing that we help with is feasibility. Now, a lot of you guys have probably done feasibility studies with us. And if you guys could actually say me in the chat if you've done a feasibility study, I'd love to ask one of you guys what you thought of it. Always a bit scary, off the cuff without any forewarning, but yeah, hopefully one of you guys would like to say, you know, I did a feasibility study and this is what happened. Next, we do pre and full planning applications, so helping navigate councils and gaining planning approval for glamping sites. That is our main offering, and the feasibility study leads into that. And from there, we can help with websites and marketing as well. So yeah, that's Glampitect. That is who I am here as today, and that's what's kind of put us to the forefront of the glamping industry over the last 3 years. Pure Glamp Compare, I'll quickly run over that. It's probably not as relevant to you guys because I can see from the form that a lot of you guys are earlier stage at the moment. But I'll quickly mention who Glamp Compare are. So with dealing with people that are wanting to set up a glamping site all day, every day, as we do with Glampitect, I realised that there was a lack of understanding for who's good and who's bad with manufacturers, predominantly because they're all so varied, not just in terms of their quality, but they're also really varied in terms of their visibility. So one of the best manufacturers might have a terrible website and no presence at any trade shows, and one of the worst might have a fantastic looking website, be at all the trade shows, and on the outside look fantastic. So we set up Glamp Compare to help you guys compare glamping pods, shepherd's huts, and so on to work out who's best for your project. Completely free to use. So yeah, you guys keep an eye out for that, and you will see over the coming probably 6 weeks that we'll be live with that, and we'll have a pretty big splash when we do go live. So yeah, what stage are you guys at? Ignore this bit, but some of you have filled in this form. I'm going to quickly just double check and see where you all are. And yeah, it looks like predominantly in the room, we're probably over 50% of you guys are at the initial idea stage with land. So I will focus around that. That was kind of where I anticipated you guys would be. And there's, from the feedback, nobody's got planning approved yet. There's a few in planning and feasibility stage, as well as a couple that don't yet have land. So I will touch on all of the areas, but I will focus predominantly around people that have land at the initial idea stage. Okay, so something mentioned already is the Glampitect feasibility study, and it's something that some of you guys have done. I'm going to come back to the chat in a second and see if anybody would like to mention how they found the feasibility study. But it's something that, especially for you guys with land, at that initial idea stage, that might be super useful. I'll not labour the details, I'll not go into it too much, but something that I am going to do at the end of this is put another link in for you guys to ask for a call tomorrow. So if anybody would like to have a chat about a feasibility study or anything else that you see tonight, or as well as at the Glampitect Academy, which Dan's going to speak to you guys about soon, then by all means fill in that form and we can have a chat tomorrow. Everything around the feasibility study, as well as the academy, it's all, well, the feasibility study is low price, the academy is free, and it's all kind of early stages to help you guys that are in the early stages get a good idea of whether or not glamping is going to work on your land and work for you guys. So that's all I'll say on that. I'll not go too salesy on it, but if you do want to have a chat, then please do let us know. So before I go into the do's and don'ts, I'm going to come back, Jack, and ask you if there's any questions. Do you have any questions yet?
Sorry, yeah. No, there was just one from Simone about potential partnerships, and I've just said to get in touch with me after. I can explain a bit more about our kind of reciprocal agreements that we have with suppliers and how that works. So we're going to we'll have a catch up after that.
Cool. Right, I'll give you guys a quick opportunity to shout out if you have any questions that you would like to shout out. Would anybody like to unmute themselves and ask anything just now? Go on, Tim. I can't see the full name. Tim something.
Timony, is it?
Yeah, there you go.
Hi, I was toiling to ask a question on the chat. My position really is more earlier than that as well. I'm looking for land as well, so I'm keen to hear about that.
Yeah, no problem at all. So actually, I think the first slide is actually about land. And as well as that, the Glampitect Academy that I mentioned, it has two different aspects. One of them is for people with land, and one's for people without. So it goes much more into detail in the academy, but will definitely be mention of finding land here. Okay, anybody else got anything to shout out? So I can have a quick breather before I go back into talking again. No, all good. Right, okay. I will share my screen then. Now, before I start, I will be completely honest, guys. I've not properly read through this yet. I just got the team to fill everything in. So if there's anything dodgy in here, then I'm sorry. I don't think there will be, but just prior apology in case there is. But no, I trust the team to have done a good job. Everybody's chipped in at least one or two things each. Dan and Jack, you're smiling. You've not put anything bad in here, have you? Right, good.
Thanks.
Okay, so I'll share my screen. I'll just talk through it. All I'm going to do is kind of talk through most of them. I'll mention most of them, and anything that I think is particularly pertinent, I'll maybe go into a bit more detail on. So with that said, let me share my screen and run through this. So yeah, dudes. Okay, so with land, when you're looking for land, check if there's any forestry on your site or if it's classified as ancient woodland. I would go further than that and say anything else like that. Check if you're an AONB, Area of Outstanding Natural Beauty, a triple SI. Anything that's an acronym is generally more problematic when it comes to setting up a glamping site or anything else. It's more hoops to jump through, it's more people to appease. So yeah, do your own due diligence before you buy land. Same goes for ecology, trees, is there animals, is there greater crested newts on your lands, which is one of the worst for planning, badgers, anything like that, any protected trees. So do your own due diligence before you go buying. That's always a hard term to say, due diligence. Do your own due diligence before you go buying any land. And then think about access as well. So yeah, think practically, guys. Is there issues with delivering pods into site? Is there issues with driving in? So do your own checks, potentially speak to solicitors. One thing that we haven't mentioned is the feasibility study if you are serious about buying a plot of land. In fact, I'm going to mention that one later on because I know that I wrote that one in myself. So I'll move on from that. So yeah, on that, do your own due diligence when it comes to looking for land is what I would say. And by the way, guys, you don't need to be frantically scribbling this down. I'm going to share this presentation tomorrow, or one of the team will, and I'm also going to share the recording of this. So you don't need to write down anything that you can see on the screen. Anything that I say, well, I suppose it's recorded too, but yeah, feel free to write down anything, but you don't need to. Next, don'ts when it comes to land. So don't just jump straight into a pre or full planning application without doing some prior checks. Don't jump into a full planning application without doing some prior checks. It might be a feasibility study or it might be pre-planning. But yeah, don't just jump straight in. There's been a little bit of overlap in these two. That's what you get for getting several different people to all write in. But yeah, same thing, don't jump into buying land without doing a feasibility study first. £500 could save you hundreds of thousands in a wasted purchase. It was me that put that one in, and I've actually got a pretty big example of that. One of the worst feasibility studies that we ever did was one of the most thankful clients. So it was somebody that was going to an auction and they were about to buy a plot of land for, it was about £200,000. It was a lot of money. And the auction was like, we had to do it expedited. We did it in like 5 days or something like that. It was a whole rush thing. And anyway, the day before the auction, they got the feasibility study and they were like, wow, we were going to buy that land to put a glamping site on it, and we never got planning approval. So they were one of the most grateful clients that we've had, even though it was worst. because they've saved themselves hundreds of thousands of pounds with only 500. Next, carry out any work on the land. Yeah, this is an important one actually. We've run into issues with this of late. Don't do anything on the land when you're going through the planning process. So don't start, building the road or digging the foundations or anything like that. If you have any neighbours that are objecting to your planning application for glamping, this just gives them fuel. So yeah, they can phone up and complain. We've had a few clients that have run into issues like that recently, in fact. And don't assume the most scenic plot of land is the most suitable. There may be planning laws that restrict development on that plot. So yeah, already mentioned the AONBs, triple SIs, all of the things that make a nice area generally mean that it's harder to gain planning approval. So yeah, be conscious of that when it comes to both looking for land and even for you guys that have land. We've got enough people in the room here that probably one or two of you are thinking, oh well, my land is in an AONB or is in a triple SI or is in a really nice scenic place, and it might have some hurdles. Again, feasibility studies can help with that. I'll not labour that point too much, but they can be very beneficial. Next, onto feasibility. So yes, when it comes to understanding the feasibility study, the feasibility of your potential glamping site, do consider the policy and designation affecting your site, as well as access, flood risk, and public rights of way. That's definitely not a all-encompassing list. There's a lot more in there, but I would say that ties into the due diligence that we mentioned at the start. Try and get a really clear understanding of how likely it is that you're going to gain planning approval and you're not going to annoy and inundate the process at this kind of feasibility, understanding if this idea is going to work stage. Do consider USPs. So I am a massive fan of USPs, unique selling proposition. So anything that is on your site that makes you unique, that makes that people would want to come and stay with you, and maybe go and mention to their friends or their family, oh, there was this amazing thing that happened at this glamping site. So what USPs do we have on our own sites? We've got voice-controlled lighting. So you can say, Alexa, make the lights go red, and the pod will turn red. You can say, Alexa, play some music, and it'll play music. We've got a lovely decking area with a barbecue and a fire pit. So all these unique selling points that make it a much more attractive place to come, so that when there's other camping sites around, you're still head and shoulders above the rest. The word competition, I'm not going to go too much into it, but I don't believe in competition. I believe that there's enough for everybody. If you create a great glamping site that is has great USP and some good marketing and stuff like that, then you don't need to compete. Some of the closest glamping sites to our own in the north of Scotland, we get on great with. We actually send people to each other because we're both so busy that chances are when someone tries to book, we're full, and we ask the other person, have you got space to allow these people to stay. Okay, next, do research other sites in the local area and see how much they're charging and how you can separate yourself from them. So that kind of ties into the unique selling points. Yeah, do your research, work out how much money people are charging in the area, and yeah, work out if you're better than them, worse than them, and take it from there. Same thing, there you do research costs and ROI. After the don'ts of the feasibility, guys, I'm going to come back and ask if we've got any more questions. So feel free to type in on anything that you've seen so far, and anything else that you might have a question on. Give myself a little breather, and yeah, then we can come back. So don't assume that a nearby refusal means that you'll have the same result. Every site is different, and every proposal must be considered on its own merits. I would also say the opposite of that's true. So don't assume that a nearby approval means that you're going to get approval. Yes, councils are more or less favourable when it comes to glamping than others. They vary massively in their own opinions of it. So chances are, if you're in a council that's had 20 approvals and 3 refusals, then you are more likely to gain planning approval than somewhere that has 20 refusals and 3 approvals. Yeah, there are specific things that might mean that even in a really high approval area, you get a refusal. Things like access is always a tough one. Drainage, ecology, trees, there's loads of different reasons that you could get a refusal. So yeah, don't just assume that because there's loads being approved or because there's loads being refused in the area, that the same will happen with you. Don't propose a permanent structure for your guests to stay in, such as houses or architect design structures. That one structure could be the reason that an application gets refused. So I'm going to just say that one and not much more. I've not come across that much myself, so I can't give you much context to it. But if that's in there, that means that either the feasibility team have seen it or the design team have seen it. So yeah, I would believe it. Don't ignore the results, but look for explanations to why they have occurred. I'm going to be honest, I don't really know what that one means, so I'll skip over that one too. But yeah, that's the kind of do's and don'ts of feasibility. I'm going to come back now and see if we have any questions. Jack.
I think I've answered all the ones in the chat, but Paul McLaren's got his hand up, so I'll take a question from him as well. You're muted, Paul, if you're speaking.
No, sorry, I put my hand up by accident.
You put your hand up by accident.
That's
fair enough.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to go through the questions, Calum, that have been answered to add anything, but yeah, there's been another one in here from Aston. With a pod designed to be underground, overfilled with soil and grass, classed as permanent. So we've had this a few times. It's one of our affiliates called Shire Pods. They basically dig into the ground and put in a sort of cylinder. So they do fall under a more permanent category because you've technically built it into the ground. But again, it really depends on the units. You know, we had somebody that wanted to build, you know, the Scandinavian sort of sedum roofs into the side of the land, so that the land kind of came down and they built into it. And because of this type of design, they needed a structural engineer involved, which does, you know, that would fall into more kind of permanent category. So it's very dependent on how you do it, and also the materials that you use as well, because some of them need to kind of, you know, concrete in and reinforced, which would essentially be like a house where you have to cement it in. So yeah, it's very, very dependent on what, you know, what land you put it on and how you install it essentially. I don't know if anybody's got anything to add to that.
Yeah, I would say that the permanent structure that the guys were talking about there is different to like a kind of permanent glamping pod or a permanent underground structure or something like that. The point there is more like actual houses or, you know, permanently built structures. Although I would say that councils still don't really know how to classify glamping pods. From one council to another, one will call them houses, one will call them permanent, temporary. We've seen it all. In fact, we've even seen the same councils call it different things from a different person within that council. So yeah, it does vary, but the permanent the guys are talking about there is like houses and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Jack, is there any questions that you thought that would be worth like reading out? I know you've replied to them, but is there any that's worth reading out what the question was and what the answer is?
Yeah, I mean, we've got one from Harry here that says we're in an AONB, which is an area of outstanding natural beauty. We're looking to site glamping units on existing tour caravan motorhome sites on our farm. Do you think this will be problematic? And I was just basically, my response to it was making sure that visual impact is limited and careful consideration into the unit choices as well. You know, things like, you know, for example, if you're in an AONB and you want to put shipping containers that have a lot of glass causes a lot of glare. You know, that's distracting within the countryside and quite disruptive. But by using shepherd's huts, they kind of blend more naturally into the you know, into the countryside. And it's also important as well to make sure that it's well screened if you're in an AONB. and not exposed to the countryside. So if you do these sort of things, A is a hurdle, it is a bit trickier, but it's not a showstopper. But also at the same time, each different council views how strict they are differently. So it's, you know, it's very case by case, but there are certain steps you can do, you know, with the design, how, you know, if you need to put a hedgerow up, you know, put them in a kind of more secluded part of the land, that it can essentially get approved. Try to see if there's any more. Are national parks friendly towards glamping sites? Are eco ones better received? So yeah, in national parks, similar sort of, again, quite restrictive. Most of them a lot, you know, if we hear certain names like New Forest and Brecon Beacons, which are very, very against it. But, you know, we have seen applications go through in various national parks which aren't as strict. So again, it's very much down to the individual park and how they view it. You know, some see it from a tourist point of view where they can see the benefits by bringing people to the park from, you know, kickstarting tourism, activities, shops, restaurants and things like that. But some want to preserve the park completely, and the thought of putting any sort of construction element in it is just a complete no-go. So again, it's just all down to, you know, it's something that we would check in a feasibility study, and based on how they've judged previous applications and how their policy looks as well.
And I would jump into that point saying that there's two national parks that I know that are currently favourable, which is South Downs and Northumberland. And probably the worst one at the moment is Snowdonia if you're not an existing business or a farm diversifying. So
yeah, same the New Forest as well has been very, very tough, and they're just very against the whole idea. We've got Zarar has got a question, and then we've got a couple more in the chat as well. Do you want to go, Zarar?
Yeah. So quick question regarding the glamping. Would you say that on a planning perspective, it was easier to get glamping than log cabins?
I would say it sort of depends on what you would class as a log cabin. Now, some councils like you to fit in with a sort of technically like a caravan act, which is 3.1 meters high. So if you were going to put log cabins, you know, with an upstairs which may breach height conditions, that could be against policy, and they might see that as a permanent structure. So again, I know I sound like a broken record here, but it can be all down to individual councils' views and how their policy lies.
Okay, but in general, would you think that glamping would be easier to obtain if we generalise it?
Yeah,
I know every council.
Yeah, I mean, because some cabins would technically fall into like the glamping category. One of our manufacturers over in Northern Ireland, I went over to go and stay at his site, and he's technically got cabins, but they're almost glamping units. You know, they're probably too big to get delivered, but they still fall within the regs of, you know, technically the kind of caravan act, they call it, which is where you fall into a footprint. So if you've done a log cabin within the kind of parameters of if you've done it within the parameters of a caravan and kept it relatively low, and you're not, you know, you're probably going to be okay and fall into the same category. But, you know, when you say, for example, you breach height restrictions, you know, they can be seen over hedges, you're in a green belt or an AONB, something, or, you know, a special landscape area, which can cause visual, you know, basically they're trying to preserve it and keep it as hidden as possible. If it starts breaching, you know, what they've got written down on the policy, then it could cause problems. But if they're of a reasonable size, they would fall into the same sort of categories as the glamping units.
Okay, I'll contact your office regarding my my personal circumstances on my case, and we'll speak direct on that one. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Thank you.
Right, I'll jump back in now, Jack. On that note, I think that's the perfect time for me to share the link. If any of you guys would like to have a chat with any of the team after this, tomorrow, the next day, whatever, if you can click that link, hopefully it works okay. And there's a couple of questions in there. What do you want to talk about? When do you want to talk? How do you want to talk? And we can arrange for you guys to have a call tomorrow or after that. A couple of questions. I had a quick scroll through, guys. Thank you for asking so much. And I've looked to try and pull out the things that I think are relevant to everybody. So things that are a bit more niche, we can answer separately. But anything that I think is kind of blanket, everybody should be interested in this, I'm going to answer. So I can't remember what the exact question was, but somebody asked something around ecology and things like that, and how you could work out if there's problems there and how to fix them. And the answer is generally specialist surveys. So if you have badgers in the area, then the council are going to ask for you to do an ecology report, an ecology survey report, where you'll have a specialist person come out that will do a survey of the area, see where the badger sets are or where, or if there is any. They'll then produce a report, submit that to the council. It might be that in their report they say, oh, it does look like there was badgers here 3 years ago, but there's no sign that they are still here, so there's no issue. Or they might say, yeah, there's a badger set 100 metres from where the site's going to be, and that is going to cause an issue. If they find it will cause an issue, they might need to do a secondary report that says, here's the issue, and here's how we can mitigate it, here's how we can make sure that the badgers are safe, and so on. So yeah, reports. For anything that you can see that's an issue. If it's roads, you can get a road survey. If it's ecology, you can get an ecology survey. Trees, you can get I'll say tree survey because I can never remember the exact name, it starts with an A. So yeah, surveys, reports are the ways to work that out. And then the other question I saw, again, I didn't read the full exact question, but it was around about drainage. I think it was, have had an experience of working with reed beds, and the answer is yes, we have. What we have more experience of is working with treatment plants and soakaways, which are just a newer, more environmentally friendly version of a septic tank. But the reason I want to mention this to all you guys is you're probably, the vast majority of you, thinking that I'm nowhere near a mains drainage. You know, typically glamping sites are rural locations, there's no mains drainage nearby. And is that going to be an issue? And the answer is generally no, because treatment plants and soakaways can go straight into the ground, or you could have a treatment plant that goes into a water course nearby. That means that the outflow can go away no problem. So generally there is a solution for drainage. The only times you would really have issues is if your ground is too hard or too soft. So if the outflow goes too quickly, it's an issue, and if it goes too fast, goes too slow, it's an issue as well. But yeah, it's generally fairly easy to have off-grid drainage. It's a solution that's required UK-wide and beyond, and probably 95% of our clients do not connect to the mains. Okay, so let me jump back to the presentation then and continue on. So from the design team, some do's and don'ts. So do make sure that your application is robust and thorough. Giving the council as much as possible that lines up with policy is crucial. A rush job will lower your chances of approval. So yeah, make sure that everything's clear in there. Our packages are generally a fair bit more robust than most of the ones that we see going in for glamping. It does mean that we have a higher approval rate because we deal with glamping applications every day. We know exactly what councils are looking for, although they do sometimes throw in some curveballs, I will be completely honest. Do also research current sites within your council. Some are very strict on the scale and unit types. So yeah, that's something that definitely a feasibility study would handle on, or you can do your own research around your council to see what they are happy with and what they aren't happy with. As you've heard from the guys there, I was actually quite impressed that you knew so much about how different councils are and how different national parks are and stuff like that. So yeah, what I would say is first port of call to all you guys at home, arrange a call, arrange a chat with the guys, completely free of charge. They can give you advice, and they know what councils are good and bad, and for the ones that are strict, what they need to be more interested in approving a planning application for glamping. Next, do try and incorporate some sustainable elements to the proposal, i.e. renewable energy, electric charging and bike storage. So yeah, definitely that's something that's coming on more and more. The prices are coming down, it's becoming more reasonable. As well as that, the prices of electricity, I'm sure that you guys, unless you've been living under a rock for the last year, know that the prices of electricity are going up so much that it's making sustainable solutions a lot more sensible. So yeah, take a look at sustainable ways to produce electricity. That definitely is a good tick and a good box for a planning application for glamping. Do your own research, find good manufacturers. sustainability choices, and have an idea of what you want for your site. So yeah, do come with some good ideas. On the flip side, the team are there to help. They deal with dozens of planning applications for glamping at any one time. So they do know what's good, bad and ugly. So yeah, do come with your own ideas, but as well as that, the guys will be able to help. And then do design a site that will be cost effective, but will provide a memorable guest experience. I don't know if I massively agree with that one. I guess it depends on your perspective. If you want to create a budget site, fine, or a cost-effective site. But on the flip side, the more money that you do spend, you get in return. And to put a bit of perspective on that, our own first site, Northwood 500 Pods, it was a 4-unit site. Well, it is a 4-unit site, and it cost just under £180,000 to set up. And you have 4 pods on there, so roughly £45,000 a unit. And given that the units were £25,000 each, you can get an understanding of how much money we put into added extras, USPs, like I mentioned earlier. And because of that, in the height of summer, that site rents out per unit for £250 a night on a 3-night minimum. So our lowest booking amount in the summer is £750. So yeah, you can make it cost effective, but yeah, I would say that you do get back what you put in general. Next, on to the don'ts of design. So don't put too much belief into pre-apps at the moment. Some councils are doing it well, some you get generally weak responses if you ever get one. I was about to say I really like this point, I definitely agree with it, but I actually think I maybe wrote it, so that may be why. But yeah, it's a really frustrating one just now, guys. The more pre-apps that we've had back recently, the more frustrated we're getting with them. Partly due to COVID, partly due to people working from home, partly due to loads of factors. Already being in capacity before COVID, pre-apps are getting really neglected at the moment. So councils are favouring full apps in terms of, we've got to get the work done and get these full apps out, and they can be ignoring pre-apps. Some councils, in fact, the worst example we had of this was we had a client that we submitted a pre-app for, all was fine and well. We were following up at various points, and then about 3 months into the process, we just got an email from the council saying, oh, hi there, yeah, because of our workload, we're now no longer doing pre-apps. And so, that was horrific, that we were 3 months into the submission and then they just decided they're not doing them anymore. It is understandable, they are at capacity, but yeah, tough one with pre-apps. One thing that we have done to try and help with that, because pre-apps did have really good benefit of getting an understanding of the council's appetite for your glamping site without going the full hog and doing a full planning application. So we set up a full planning light package, and probably some of you guys that are listening are working on a full planning light package at the moment. And yeah, it was our solution to the decline in pre-app responses, information and quality. And it's basically just a cheaper version of a full planning application, whereby we'll work up until we submit and get a registration and validation. And then from that point, we won't do any more work unless you ask us to, and it would be a time charge. So it means that you get the council's initial response that they have to give you for a full planning application for less than what you would normally spend on a full planning application. Again, chat to one of the guys if you want to get a better understanding of that. Don't overcrowd your site. Less is always better. Our site's pretty overcrowded, our first one. We only had 0.13 of an acre, and we did fit in 4 units. So small space, and you guys would probably all do the mental maths. A question I always get asked, I've got an acre, how many glamping pods can I fit in there? And the answer is, well, kind of as many as you want. You could put in 15 if you really wanted, or you could put in every half acre, and you'll have very different sites there. Or at the same time, a little bit of devil's advocate here, don't put them too far apart. One of the main reasons not to put them too far apart is to do with services. So if you've got 10 units and they're all 150 metres apart each, you're going to have a bit of drainage that's over 1 kilometre long. You're going to have electricity cables that are over 1 kilometre long, which doesn't make practical sense. So yeah, if you have the ability to spread them out a bit, but don't go too far. Next, don't pressure your council into making decisions. They have high workloads, which may cause delays. Definitely a frustrating one, but I do agree with it. At the same time, you do need to keep on top of the council in the right way. So just keep checking in friendly. It can get tough when you're waiting for a decision and they're just not coming back. But yeah, don't get into argument with them, because all that'll do is make them not like you and make them less likely to approve your application, as wrong as that is. It is the case. Next, do not think about budget. Be aware of what you're able to complete when you submit. Be realistic. Do not think about budget. Be aware of what you're able to complete when you submit. Be realistic. I reckon that person might be skint. Whoever said that, I think they don't have a budget themselves, and they might cause themselves some trouble. But yeah, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that one. Next, over to the front end. Sales. This is more, I think this is a combination of maybe some conversations with our sales guys, as well as sales of your own stays and stuff like that. So yeah, firstly, do utilise the knowledge of our client relations team. You've met a lot of them tonight. They've worked on hundreds of glamping sites, which is obviously great. Next, I think we'll now on to your own sites. So what packages would work for your site? Local produce, guest experience activities, food and drink offerings. I think that's a great one. Who can you tie in with locally? Things like that can benefit your planning application as well. If you say, oh, there's this local farm shop that's going to benefit, and there's this cafe nearby and this pub that's struggling, then all of those things are a big tick in the box for planning. And then obviously, yeah, when it comes to opening, you can upsell these products, or you can just help your neighbours out by selling them. But pardon me, whatever the case, it's going to benefit your own sales. Next, do you include? Okay, yeah, so that's a question. Do you include hot tubs, fire pits, and saunas? Will this attract sales? I'm not going to go on too much about that. I could talk on that subject alone for hours. But yes, hot tubs will absolutely attract sales. There's no doubt about it. But they do take up a lot of time to manage, maintain, and some risks as well. So yeah, do your own due diligence on hot tubs before you get them. We never put hot tubs on our own site because they are so much work. However, we do have a lovely sauna at our second site, and it definitely does attract sales. Next, who's your target audience? So yeah, that is a really good one. Who are you trying to sell to? Who do you want to come and stay at your glamping site? Because you should always be trying to talk to those people. Your website should be trying to talk to those people. So if you've got you're nearby a mountain or an area where people go walking, and you want your target audience is people that go on walks, then you want your website to have lots of lovely imagery of people going on walks and the nice hills and all those things about you. Or if you want to be a young couples site, then aim it for that. Have a great picture of a couple cheersing in a hot tub right up at the top of your website. So yeah, tailor everything, your social media, everything to whoever your target audience is. Next, booking frequency. What's your minimum stay? On and off peak prices. Calendar. So yeah, I've already mentioned myself there that our own first site is £250 a night in the summer and a 3-night minimum. So yeah, we can command that because we are so popular at that time. So yeah, get an understanding of where you guys are with that. I'm going to come back and see if we've got a couple more questions in a minute. We'll only ask a couple or look through and read out a couple and then we'll come back. But first I'll finish this slide. So don't rush things and create a plan. Yeah, I think that's sensible. Get a good understanding of what you're wanting to do and then carry it out. Don't think that you will achieve a high nightly rate without adding value. Yeah, I think that's a great one. That definitely links into the USP that we were speaking about earlier. Make sure that your site's good. Make sure there's reasons that people would want to come and stay, and crucially, come and stay again. Because one of the big issues that we've seen, shows and stuff like that, presentations at shows, is client retention. So are people going to come back and stay with you again? And a lot of glamping sites struggle with this. We've never seen that issue with our own sites because we do have great USPs. And next, don't think winter will be as busy as summer. Thanks for stating all this, but it's true. Don't think winter will be as busy as summer. At the same time, you can do things to mitigate that. As I mentioned, we were about 80% full throughout March. So if you market correctly and you have the right prices and all that stuff, then you will still see a lot of people come and stay in the winter. Now, that being said, our early winters were a lot quieter than now. It's taken us a couple of years to build up, so don't expect to just open straight away and you're going to be full in the winter. But once you get a good following on social media and all these things, you will have better winters as well. Jack, have you got a couple of questions that you want to read out?
I've been smashing through them, to be fair. I've just got, where are we? Let's have a look. Got one I haven't answered from Gary. Do you think COVID has boosted sales a lot and will now fall off? Now, this is a question I probably get asked at least once a day. And one thing I would say about that is I think what COVID's done, yes, it's boosted sales and yes, it's been great, but it's actually opened people's eyes to what is on their front door. People don't need to spend weeks of their holidays and thousands of pounds to go abroad. You can nip away for a couple of nights and have a really nice stay just by getting out. So yeah, I think COVID has really helped it. But we have basically a glamping thing on Google that shows the trend, and it's still rising. It generally drops about Christmas and then spikes again afterwards. For more and more people getting interested and getting involved, and people are going out and seeing these glamping sites and thinking what else is out there, and that's where unique selling points come in. So people go out and all sort of try different sites. I think Calum, you had an example, didn't you, where you asked somebody that and they just said that they were going to use it as like an extra holiday. Was it something like that? Returning customer?
Yeah, so we had, this happened with a few people actually at the North Coast 500 pod site. Just emailed us completely out the blue after staying. They stayed like kind of peak COVID when you couldn't go on planes and stuff like that, but stuff at home was open. And there was 2 or 3 people that emailed us after their stays and said, thank you very much, it was amazing. And we will definitely be back as a second holiday in years to come. We've never holidayed in Scotland in our lives. We always go to Spain, and yeah, as soon as flights are back open, we will go to Spain again, but we'll also come away in October, or we'll come away in March or whatever, to the pods again. We're going to make this an annual thing. We're now into kind of year 2, year 3 of that, and we are seeing a lot of these people come back and stay, and it's the kind of people that 3 or 4 years ago would have never gone on holiday in the north of Scotland or anything like that. So yeah, we've had a lot of that. People that would have never stayed with us in the past, because they've not been able to get on a plane, they've come and they've gone, that was great, we're going to do it again.
Yeah, and as well, I think as well, glamping is kind of, the UK glamping scene is absolutely going off, and we're getting more and more, requests from Europe. So people in Europe are now going to be seeing, when they come to UK, they're going to be, once the world completely opens up, people that usually holiday to UK, you get a lot of people in camper vans and are going to want to have a comfy night's sleep, and motorbikes and what, people on holiday. And they're going to be looking at staying at glamping sites as well. And because it is taken off so much and it is starting to spread throughout Europe, and people in the UK looking to invest in glamping sites, we had Portugal, we had Sardinia recently, there's a lot of people looking to do that elsewhere. So I think as well, yes, COVID has boosted sales, but it's left a lasting mark on the industry in the UK. There's another question for you specifically, Calum, in there from Luke. Calum, you mentioned it cost 180,000 for the setup of NC 500 pods. 100k was for the pods. Can you run through the remaining 80k? 80k was exactly within reason. Could you also run through how you utilise commercial finance for the site?
Yeah, so the 80k was things like the decking was about £5,000, very really high quality, but it looks great and it's going to be there for a long time. We went quite high end on the materials we used for our paths. We were over £5,000 in chips for the paths. External lighting, we had a nice outdoor like a kind of reception hut. We were quite a lot of money in a retaining wall as well, so we had to put in a retaining wall that we then clad. That generally people probably wouldn't have done, but it does give a really nice effect to the site. We were £2,000 in a sign, so we did go all out in terms of the costs that we the amount of money that we spent on things. In terms of financing, so I had no financing at the time, so I didn't need to get investment. However, it wasn't corporate or anything like that. It was private investment. So yeah, I got the full amount of money that I needed through private investment. And interestingly, guys, that's probably one of the first places that I would suggest you look when it comes to trying to get investment for your site. Speak to friends, family. I've got a lot of people that I'm speaking to about other projects at the moment that are really wanting to invest. Now, obviously, it does help that I'm at the forefront of industry and doing things like that. It does make me pretty credible when it comes to investing into a glamping site that I'm setting up. But yeah, for all you guys, speak to people that you personally know first. And then beyond that, there is a few companies that finance, particularly the units. It's a bit harder to finance groundworks and stuff like that. But glamping pods, shepherd's huts from credible manufacturers are fairly easy to get finance on now. Okay, I will jump back to the presentation, guys. We are going to run over the hour. I reckon we'll be done about 20 past, so feel free to stay, or if you want to go, then by all means go as well. We're recording, so yeah, I won't cry if you guys leave if you've got something to go away to do. Okay, next on to marketing. So do invest time and money in marketing. It's what separates you from the competition. Definitely a strong one there. It's something that people don't often consider, especially at these early stages, but I would say that as soon as you gain planning approval, you should be setting up your Facebook, Instagram for your glamping site and making some noise about it. Make sure to emphasize any unique or special characteristics in your site through marketing to set it apart. So yeah, that's the USPs we've spoken about earlier, unique selling points. Ensure marketing is based around value and unique guest experience. I think that's a fantastic one again. Understand where you are being seen and who by. So yeah, that's back to the demographic, the type of people that you're trying to sell to. Understand who you're talking to and talk to them in a way that they would want to be spoken to when it comes to your marketing. Know your ideal customer, what they want, like, and expect. Again, that's your kind of target demographic. I have gone through them quite quickly. I am conscious of time, but what I would say is that marketing for me is the #1 most important thing when it comes to starting a glamping business. As soon as you gain planning approval, obviously without planning it's completely redundant, but as soon as you gain planning approval, marketing is what is going to set you apart from everybody else. Don't have an ugly website. Main point is to gain trust early on, and don't rely on one form of marketing. So definitely agree with both of them. Although I would say that you could class the two different main types of social media as two forms, so Instagram and Facebook, because typically, especially for smaller glamping sites, you are only really going to want to focus on social media. I wouldn't say that you should spend too much money on like pay-per-click ads or Google ads or anything like that, because financially it's probably just not viable to spend too much money on them without taking a big dent in your profits. Next, on the build. So do make sure you ask your Glampitect client relation team for manufacturer recommendations. This will connect you directly to trusted suppliers who can deliver. There are a lot of cowboys out there, so yeah, definitely agree with that. There's probably 70 or 80 manufacturers out there. There might even be some manufacturers in the room. If there are any manufacturers in the room, hit the hands up button if you want to say hello, and I'm happy to let you guys say hello if you want to. So yeah, if anybody's in the room that's a manufacturer, put your hand up and I can like to say hello. Next, do research your build partners. Do they have relevant experience? Can you see examples or visit their workshop? So yeah, I guess that sounds a bit more like it's around manufacturers, and yeah, I would definitely say if you can visit the manufacturer's workshop first, do it. Try and get client referrals as well. So try and speak to their previous clients, see how they got on, get photos and stuff like that. When it comes to groundworks and stuff like that, might be a little bit trickier because probably there's not many groundworkers that have done too many glamping sites. But it's not rocket science for ground workers, it's fairly basic work. So any competent ground worker should be able to help you when it comes to setting up a glamping site. Next, when it comes to build, don't go cheap on a manufacturer, go for quality, 100% echo that. That has so many benefits: long-term health of the pod, marketability, amount of money that you can charge per night. There's so many benefits to going for a better quality manufacturer. Next, the real sweet spot for units is £25,000 to £35,000. Don't think that by doubling that you're guaranteed to get double in nightly rate. Yeah, that's a good one. Well done whoever put that in. Clever. So yeah, about £25,000 to £35,000 is the sweet spot. You know, if a £35,000 unit is getting rented out for £220 a night in the summer, if you go to a £70,000 unit, are you going to be able to rent it out for £440 a night? Probably not, almost certainly not. So yeah, it's not linear in terms of how much you spend per unit, or certainly not linear beyond a certain point. Don't expect it to be open super quickly or in a matter of a couple of months from your initial idea. The planning process can take several months, and manufacturers' lead times and build time can be the same. Yeah, a bit of kind of expectation management there, guys. You probably will be 12 months from initial idea to being open. You can do it quicker. Our own second site, I think, was about 7 months. But you know, we're at the forefront of the industry. We know exactly what we want to be doing and how to do it. So yeah, I would say probably rule of thumb, best part of a year from starting to opening. Next, don't expect to be open. Oh wait, I've already read that one. Sorry. Don't underestimate the amount of work required if self-building units or completing your own groundworks. Chances are they're a lot more complicated than it seems. Yeah, I definitely agree with that one as well. The self-build thing does seem cool, but I would probably say only do it if it's more of a hobby. Certainly anybody that I've spoken to that's done self-build, it's taken a lot longer than they initially anticipated. And don't get just one quote from ground workers, really get just one quote from manufacturers. Speak to a few and see who's best. Other things, so I think this is the end, yeah. So other things, do be prepared for a lot of hurdles along the way. There's a lot to overcome, but it's worth it. I can definitely say that happened with us. You will encounter problems. You know, this is a project with a lot of moving parts. There's councils, there's neighbours, planning, ground, and what's under the ground, and so on. There's loads of different moving parts. So you know, don't expect it to be the easiest thing in the world. But what I can say from being a glamping site owner myself is that it is really rewarding. See, when you get that first booking, it's incredible. When you get the feedback from people saying that they had a fantastic stay because of something that you thought of. You know, I thought, let's put an Amazon Alexa on Philips Hue lighting so you can talk to the lights, and then half of the reviews are, oh, it was amazing, the kids loved talking to the lights. It's so rewarding. So yeah, there's a lot of hurdles to overcome, but it's definitely worth it, and I can say that from the heart. Do find USPs that make you stand out from the crowd. Yeah, that's been spoken about a few times. I think that just shows how important it is. And do create an operational structure. Smart. Yeah, see, for both of our sites, we have management on site, we have a cleaning structure, we've got all of these things. That means that I live thousands of miles away from my own sites now. and spend probably no more than half an hour a week on them. So we've set up in such a way, we've got a great structure in place, which means that I need to spend almost no time at all running it, which is obviously fantastic. On the flip side, some of you guys at home might think, actually, you know what, I'm wanting to retire into this and I'm wanting to be a lot more involved in the day-to-day. I want to do the cleaning, I want to greet the guests with warm scones when they arrive or whatever, and that's fine too. But I would say probably still do try and create a good operational structure so that if you ever want to go on holiday or something like that, then you can. Finally, don't skimp on the little extras. Complimentary toiletries, a welcome card, fresh flowers, that can make a difference. Yeah, really good one. Again, that kind of comes down to the USPs. I'm sure you've all experienced it yourself, going to a nice hotel where there's nice toiletries and maybe some chocolates left out. People remember it. That's what you remember. You know, I'm thinking of some of the hotels that I stayed in, and I can actually think of the exact things that were sitting there when I've arrived from several years ago. It's what's the term? It's how you're made to feel that you remember. I feel like I've misquoted that, but yeah, you remember how something makes you feel more than anything else. And yeah, that's absolutely true with glamping sites as well. And don't base decisions on other glamping sites in the local area. Make sure it's a thoroughly considered idea before jumping into the application process. So yeah, that probably kind of ties back into the feasibility piece and all of those things. And actually, on that note, I asked earlier if anybody had done a feasibility study. I have mentioned a few times for you guys to take a look. I think a couple of you said that you did. Would anybody mind unmuting themselves that's done a feasibility study and tell us how it was? So I think Tracy said that she'd had one. Vicky, are either of you guys still here and want to tell us how you got on with the feasibility study?
I am. Hi, yes, my name's Tracy. I live in Worcestershire, and we've got some land which we've had for quite a long time where we've got horses on it, but it was most probably a really good thing to get the feasibility study done. Over the years, we've been turned down by our local authority for several things, one being a house and then another one being a caravan, and you know, we've sort of realised that we needed somebody more professional to look at it for us and what the chances would be. So I was really impressed with the feasibility study because it looked at planning, other people's planning in the area, and it looked at why they didn't get it or why they did get it, and it sort of based my decision whether I wanted to invest my money to go any further. So I would highly recommend a feasibility study. I think it was £500 really well spent, and I think you know, having someone that knows, you know, and having that background and knowing what they're doing is was something that we needed. So so you know, I was really impressed with it. My son also read through it, and he did something similar at university, and he thought it was really good too for the area, rather than us just going in and trying something again and wasting our money. So you know, I did think it was really worth the time and in the investment. I mean, I always remember one thing that our local authority said to me when we were turned down about something else was that if you know what you're doing, you can railroad through it. And but we never knew what we were doing. So you know, so yeah, I definitely invest. Or if you don't have a decision or you can't make your decision, it made it for us.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Tracy. You can come back. That's always a scary thing to do, to ask, you know, has anyone done one before? It's never gone wrong yet, but I'm scared for the day that it does. I've done that a good few times, and yeah, the feasibility studies always do get good feedback. Thank God. And on that note, I'm going to send you guys the link again. If any of you want to chat about the feasibility study with one of the team, click that link, fill your name, your phone number and stuff like that. And you can chat with Dan, Jack, Callum, whenever you want to. Finally, I'll maybe take a look and see if there's any more questions in a minute. Dan, I'm going to pass over to you in a second. The other thing that I would like to introduce to you guys is the Glampitect Academy. So parts of the presentation that you saw there were stolen from a previous academy that I'd done. And Dan now runs the academy for us. It's a 4-week session, similar format to this. And yeah, I'll pass over to you, Dan, to just introduce what we do in the Glampitect Academy.
Thanks, Calum. Yeah, so the Academy is such an exciting opportunity to go into more detail of what you've seen today. Topics about feasibility, topics about planning, marketing. We go into detail with our own sites, what we use with a 3D walk around. We go into planning applications that we've done, go through all the design work, every detail that you should know. We could do it over a 4-week course. And with marketing manager systems, we go into great detail about that as well and show you the ins and outs. We also have a land buying academy for people not at that stage. That goes into great detail about the types of land, what you should really be looking for to get you ahead of the game, essentially. And we talk about our land buying, our land finding service as well. That starts next week. So I'm going to put a link in the chat. Dates have not been confirmed, but normally it's on a Wednesday and Thursday between 5:30 and 6:30. Usually the land buying's on the Wednesday, starter course is on the Thursday. But I put the link in the chat. If that's something that you might be interested in, it's definitely worth it. And I'm not saying that as just from a sales perspective, but there's a lot of detailed information there that I think really would push you along. So if you're still in that little bit of a hesitant stage, sign up. We don't bite. I'm sure you'll learn a lot. So thanks, Calum. You're muted.
Yes, I am. No. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much, Dan. And thank you guys for all the questions here. I'm just going to have a quick skim through and see if I want to reply to anything. Simone, is the Academy something that as a manufacturer we should be part of? Yeah, I think it's worth coming along to one of them. You'll learn loads. It's 4 hours of listening to Dan, which well, some will say that's good, some won't. But yeah, 4 hours of Dan talking about everything to do with setting up a glamping site. Kind of an elongated and better structured version of what you've seen tonight, probably. So yeah, definitely worth coming along to. You'll hear about all of the main things that you can then say to your clients. So yeah, definitely worth it. What else do we have here? Guys, there's so many questions. Thank you very much for these. What I might do is get one of the team to read through these tomorrow and summarise and send an email out. I think that's probably the most sensible thing to do here because there's so many questions. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll send that out, guys. I'm going to send a link in the chat. If you can put any feedback that you've got in there, there's a little section for putting feedback there. That would be massively appreciated, so we can make this better the next time. And yeah, I'll wrap things up there. We are planning on doing another session probably at a similar time next month. Drop us an email, let us know how you found it. Drop us an email if there's anything in particular that you would want us to talk about. I think that this one was pretty good in terms of turnout, probably one of our best turnouts ever, which was exciting. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. Massively appreciate it. I'm glad that we managed to turn this around in such short notice as well. So yeah, thank you. Look forward to seeing your projects soon. Thank you very much, Tracy, as well, for that great chat about the feasibility study. That was brilliant. So yeah, we'll send out a link to this. We'll send out a blog about this, all these things over the next little while. Thank you all, guys, very much.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Calum, there's one question that's been sent to you twice. I don't know if you want to answer it before you go.
Okay.
And then somebody else has asked if you can answer it as well. Calum, the question of costs, what is the rough breakdown in percentages for the total project, assuming you already own the land? What percentage pods, cabins, groundworks, landscaping, mechanicals?
Apologies, guys. I have to leave. I'm sorry. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.
All good. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, so rough breakdown, you're probably in general 50% for the units. So half of your entire budget would be on the units themselves. In general, this is obviously all broad brush because you could go for super expensive units and no groundworks. So yeah, probably half of your cost on units, 25% on like practical groundwork, so like concrete pads, drainage, electricity, that could get varied massively by things like if you need a really expensive electricity connection. So if there's not a transformer nearby that's got enough space in it, you might need to put in a new transformer, which would make that a lot more expensive. But if there's nothing like that, yeah, probably 25% on the practical under the ground stuff, and then 25% left for everything else. So nice finishes, a website, the start of your marketing. What I would say is marketing is an ongoing thing, so I wouldn't necessarily put that as a setup cost, other than maybe a couple of % of your overall budget to put there at the start. So yeah, that's a kind of broad brush answer to that. Hopefully that was helpful. We can break that down a bit more in an email potentially afterwards. Cool. Okay, thank you, Jack, and yeah, thank you guys. Have a good night, and see you all next time, hopefully. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
Thank you very much.